In 1989, a chilling mystery unfolded high in the rugged wilderness of Japan's Daisetsuzan National Park. Near the slopes of Mount Asahidake, rescuers responding to a hand carved SOS sign stumbled upon a gruesome discovery: a human skeleton lying beside it. At first glance, it seemed like a tragic but straightforward case, but it was anything but this. Welcome to Morbid Outdoors, the podcast that ventures deep into the shadows of the wild. Here, we unravel the mysteries of missing persons, explore spine chilling legends, and share the most morbid stories that nature has to offer. From the depths of the dense forests to the highest mountain peaks, we'll uncover the secrets that lie hidden in the great outdoors. Join us as we navigate the eerie, the unexplained, and the terrifying. So if you dare, grab your gear and let's embark on a journey into the unknown. This is Morbid Outdoors. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday and happy December. It feels crazy that we're already in December. It feels absolutely wild. So, my name is Elise. Thank you guys so much for listening. Today, I have a very interesting case out of Japan, and that means that I am going to mispronounce some words. I am going to try my best, but I am not Japanese. I do not speak Japanese. I do not read Japanese. And that means that I need your patience and I appreciate your patience. Now, I first heard of this case due to another podcast that I listened to called Locations Unknown. They covered this, I think, like a year or more ago, and it's a very interesting case and it's in a very interesting location. So, anyways, yes, thank you for your patience. I have already looked up on Google how to pronounce these words, and I might not always get it right. And I think that's okay. So, we don't have to be perfect at everything. So, let's start with the negative reviews of Daisetsuzan National Park in Japan. The first review says, came here on weekends and expected that they should be open on at least when the tourist came, Saturday and Sunday, but it is closed. Not acceptable at all. Not recommended to come here in the spring and summer season at all. Everything is closed in this town and open at late morning and early afternoon. Really bad experience. The next review says the weather was bad. It was too cold. And then our last review says, we hiked through a magnificent mountain range. The nature and alpine plants were amazing. I'll never forget the scenery at the Takanagahara in particular. But they rated it 1 star. So not sure if it was a finger slip, but I did like including that positive one, even though it was a 1 star review. So, about this national park, it was established in 1934 and is located in the mountainous center of the northern Japanese island of Hokkaido. At 2,267.64 square kilometers, or 875.54 square miles, it was the largest national park in Japan until 2024 when a new national park was established. The word Daisetsuzan, it means Great Snowy Mountains, and it's an apt description of the peaks in this national park. There are 16 peaks over 2,000 meters, or 6,600 feet, in Daisetsuzan National Park, both with and without trails to the tops. This park offers some of the most rugged scenery in Japan, and it's known for its alpine meadows and remote backcountry. This national park consists of 3 volcanic mountain groups. The groups consist of stratovolcanoes piled on top of each other. As one vent becomes active, it builds a peak, then stops until a new vent appears. And there are like 3 different ones, right? So I'm not going to try and pronounce them all, but it's very interesting. And honestly, I would liken this national park to the San Juan Mountains in Colorado, because looking at pictures, that's kind of what it reminds me of with the blue lakes and the peaks, and it's just very beautiful. This park is known for its wildlife, and the park is home to several rare species. The park is notably home to a population of brown bears. They do have a pika, which is a small mammal with short limbs, round ears, and no external tail, and it's also found within this park. So, this is from All Trails. Daisetsuzan National Park, also known as the Roof of Hokkaido and the Garden of the Gods, is characterized by its magnificent alpine scenery and high mountain range. It is also the national park with the largest area in Japan. Daisetsuzan National Park is home to numerous active volcanoes and Mount Asahidake, known as Hokkaido's highest peak. The Ishikari River, Hokkaido's longest river, and the Tokachi River also flow through this park. Autumn is the recommended season to visit. Enjoy the breathtaking scenery of Hokkaido's nature. Another highlight is the diversity of living organisms, including rare alpine plants. There are also hot spring facilities dotted around the park that come from abundant sources and soothe people's bodies. It also has the longest snow ski season in Japan. This park looks absolutely stunning: alpine lakes, huge waterfalls, and great mountains. With views like these, it's not a shark, this park draws a lot of visitors. And that's exactly what two Tokyo men were doing in July 1989. They were out trying to enjoy the alpine lakes and mountains and scenery when something terrible happened. On the afternoon of the 24th of July, 1989, on a path from Mount Kurodake to Mount Asahidake of Daisetsuzan National Park, two Tokyo men were lost after mountaineering. They got lost and they needed to be rescued. Now, there are two trails to get to either place, but I'm not exactly sure which trail they were taking, as this area has a lot of intersecting trails. But let's talk about the terrain. The trail they were likely on is the Mount Kurodake Loop, and it goes from there to Mount Asahidake. So, from all trails, this trail begins at the upper station of the Kurodake Ropeway. The path is a rugged, rocky trail. You will be climbing over large boulders. Along the way, you will be in a stunning alpine world, surrounded by fields of alpine flowers in the summer and hardy Siberian dwarf pine. At the peak, you can get a view of the entire Daisetsuzan range, including the lunar like landscape and steaming vents of Mount Asahidake. This one is 9.9 miles long. It has over 3,700 feet of elevation gain, and it says it typically takes people 7 to 7.5 hours to complete. That is an extremely long trail. Now, there were no negative reviews for this trail, but I'm going to assume that this is the one that they were on. But regardless, the terrain wherever they were at is extremely rocky. You have to imagine they're on some mountain peaks with scree fields, large boulders, and they probably needed technical gear because this is mountaineering, not just hiking. While going through their climbing route, they deviated down Mount Asahidake south towards the Chubetsu River. Now, the Hokkaido police searched in a helicopter, and the police actually found a giant SOS sign made of 19 birch trees, each roughly 5 meters long. This sign was built by stacking felled birch trees on top of one another. The two missing people were safely rescued about 2 to 3 kilometers north from the sign, or 1.2 to 1.9 miles. It seems like it was a little far if they were the ones who built the sign. I think the police thought, why would these people build this giant sign to get rescued and then hike almost 2 miles away? Now, the Hokkaido police believed that the SOS ladders made of wood had been constructed by the two people that they had rescued. However, when the police debriefed with the two people about the situation after the rescue, these two men had nothing to do with the sign. They didn't know that there was an SOS sign, and they definitely didn't build it. The Hokkaido police, who thought there might be another victim. So, of course, they were like, we have to get back out there to search for the person who actually built this sign. So, because the police believed that there still might be someone out there who needed rescuing, they dispatched a helicopter again the following day and searched the surrounding area. And what they found was pretty grim. The police discovered fragments of human bones with traces of animal bites. It appeared that some of the bones had been fractured prior to death. In a separate area near the SOS sign, the police discovered a hole just large enough to fit a single human, which included four cassette tapes, a tape recorder, a backpack, some amulets, a human skull, a tripod, a pair of men's basketball shoes, two cameras, a notebook, and a driver's license. The driver's license belonged to Kenji Iwamura, a 25-year-old male office worker from Konan, Aichi Prefecture, who had gone missing on July 10th, 1984, after he set out hiking to Mount Asahidake. So let's talk about Kenji. In 1984, 5 years before the SOS sign was found, Kenji was 25 and he was working in an office, and he actually received a promotion at his job. So he wanted to reward himself, and he decided that the perfect reward for him would be to go mountain climbing. He took a 1 week vacation and went to Daisetsuzan National Park in Hokkaido, where he found a lodge and booked a stay. So before heading out, he told the receptionist that he was thinking of going into the mountains for a hike and some climbing. The receptionist warned him not to go because the weather was unstable and dangerous in that place, and she actually advised him to wait until conditions improved before heading out on his hike. But Kenji did not listen, and he traveled to Mount Asahidake. When a long time passed and Kenji did not return, the receptionist reported his disappearance. And when he failed to appear for work a week later, his parents asked police to search for him, but police did search and they didn't find any trace of him. So the bones that were found in 1989 were sent in for testing to confirm the identity. The human bones were sent to Kawa Medical University and were identified initially as those of a young woman aged 20 to 40 years old. Her blood type was determined to be type O. However, during the examination, fractures were found that were not caused by animal scavenging, but by something stronger. It appeared that this person had suffered an accident, as the left shoulder and right leg were broken. On July 27th, the police decided to play the recordings on the cassette tapes. And on one of the recordings, the voice of a young man is heard shouting for 2 minutes and 17 seconds. A translation of the man shouting on the recording is as follows: SOS, help me. I can't move on the cliff. SOS, help me. The place is where I first met the helicopter. The Sasa is deep and I can't get up. Lift me from here. So that's what was playing on the recording. And a Sasa is a genus of bamboo and it's part of the grass family. So it's just, he was just saying that the foliage is deep and he can't get up. The rest of the tapes included music from anime TV shows, Macross and Magical Princess Minky Momo, and in addition, a cutout of artwork from Magical Princess Minky Momo was used as the case for the cassette tape. An acquaintance of Kenji gave testimony that Kenji had been carrying a recording of theme songs on a tape, as well as the same size of basketball shoes that were discovered by police. So honestly, I don't know about the initial search for Kenji when his parents requested police look, but from the recordings, it sounds like he might have seen a helicopter and thought it was there to help him, but they didn't see him because he said, "This place is where I first met the helicopter." So I just find that very interesting that he notes seeing a helicopter and he definitely needed rescued. So it's not, like, confirmed at this time that the human remains were Kenji's. Because the human skeleton was initially identified as female, it was thought by investigators that they were two men and a woman that had gone missing in the park. However, there was no record of a missing female in Asahidake, and Kenji was said to have gone alone into the mountain. The identity of the woman and the potential relationship to Kenji was unknown, and it definitely caused a lot of confusion in the investigation and in media coverage about this case. The Asahikawa East Police Station announced on February 28th, 1990, that after a re examination of all the human bones that were found, they now believed that the skeleton was actually male and not female. So it turned out that these bones belonged to a man with blood type A, which was the same blood type that Kenji had. It is said that the discrepancy at the time was due to less advanced equipment. You have to remember this was 1989, 1990. Was the technology advanced enough to identify bones as female versus male? I believe so. Maybe not exactly DNA profiling, but definitely enough to know blood type and gender of the bones. Now, in regards to the SOS sign, the Japan Forestry Agency and the Japan Geographical Authority took a look at previous topographic map data used to find aerial photographs, in which it was confirmed that the SOS sign was in the images taken on September 20th, 1987. So they don't really know exactly when it was constructed, but it was definitely after 87 and before 1989. I think a lot of people, when they look into this case, they maybe see a cover up. They maybe see that something else happened to Kenji and the initial look at the bones was correct. However, I don't know if we'll ever really know about why, the police said that these bones were female with blood type O. And then, they re examine them and then they're male with type A, same as Kenji. So some people do think that this is a conspiracy theory or a cover up. I just don't know enough to say one way or the other. I think it's highly suspicious, but I don't know if we can, actually say it's not due to technology. So I don't know. But what could have caused Kenji to go missing up there on Mount Asahidake? There is a large rock nicknamed Kinko Iwa, which is safe rock, on the ridge of Mount Asahidake, which is used as a guidepost on the hikes up there. The name comes from the fact that the rock looks like a giant square safe. However, there is also a similar large rock nicknamed Nisei Kinko Iwa, which means fake safe rock near the Kinko Iwa. So there are two rocks. And if someone were to accidentally fall from the fake safe rock, they would be in the area where the SOS incident occurred or where the SOS sign was found. The slope above the main area is dense sasa grove that grows sideways. So it's easy to enter from the top, but it's extremely difficult to climb from the bottom up and out of it. There is a cliff where the incident occurred. The terrain in this area is difficult to escape. In fact, a few days after the incident was discovered, a news media interview team who visited the site was unable to escape from the area and had to be rescued. So even when someone knows exactly where they're going and why these people were reporting on this case, they even had to be rescued themselves because they could not get out. That's how thick the brush is and how difficult it would be to climb out of this area. The wooden letters of the SOS sign were made by stacking large fallen birch trees, and it was estimated that this probably took about 2 days and considerable effort to create such a giant sign. It was speculated that the sign was made by the missing person that the skeleton belonged to, but like I said, they said that it wasn't him at first. Um, and the bones that were found, like I said, there were some pretty large bones that were broken. So, was it possible for the person whose remains were there to even make the sign by him or herself? There was no axe that could have been used to cut the trees down. They haven't found anything like that. So, I don't know. I just think it's really interesting. And some have even pointed out that the Osama Tezuka's Astro Boy has a scene in which fallen trees are arranged in the shape of an SOS. So, the purpose of the SOS tape recording is unknown. I think we know the meaning. This person was asking for help, but it is speculated that the man on the recording who was stuck recorded it so the search team could hear it before he became debilitated and unable to speak. It was also possible that it was accidentally switched on and recorded while the man was yelling for help. Many have speculated that the man yelling was Kenji, but when Kenji's parents were asked about the recording, they could not confirm that the voice on the recording was their son's. And as of 2025, Kenji has been missing for 41 years, and police believe that he is deceased. I don't know if his parents are still alive today. However, they did say that they can't confirm if the man on the recording was Kenji. And honestly, I'm wondering if now in today's age with all the DNA advancements, if they could even compare the DNA from the remains to his family and either confirm or deny that it was Kenji. I don't know why that hasn't been looked into. Maybe it's at the request of the family. I have no idea. But I think now in 2025, we could definitely have an answer of if that was Kenji whose remains were found in 1989, or if it was someone else, and that would only deepen this mystery. Now, I have a theory, and I think that this was Kenji. I think that the original identification of the human remains was incorrect due to technology issues, maybe even cross contamination in a lab. That is always possible as well. But since the people that were investigating, police and everybody else, since they said that the bones were thin and weak and broken, I think that Kenji constructed the SOS sign before he broke those bones. I think he took the fake rock route on accident, got so deep in that area and couldn't get out. And I think that he built the SOS sign while he still was strong enough to. And I think after a while, maybe a couple days, maybe, 4 or 5 days, he probably knew that he wasn't going to be rescued, especially if he saw a helicopter that didn't see him. And I think he thought, oh shit, I have to self rescue. And I think he tried to climb out of that area and he fell. And I think that that's where the fractures, the breaks in the bones come from. And I think that's how he met his end. But we don't really know. That's just my theory. But let me tell you about one of the most plausible theories suggested by police. This was that Kenji talked to the receptionist, he went climbing, and he mistook the fake safe rock for the real one. He unknowingly took the wrong path and got lost, like I said. But along the way, he met another lost climber and they continued together. Kenji eventually fell or rolled down the mountain, resulting in the fractures that left him unable to move. They think that the other person tried to help Kenji but couldn't, so Kenji told him to go and find help, which left Kenji alone. They think that this other climber decided to create an SOS sign near Kenji so that if rescuers found Kenji, he could explain their situation and both could be saved. Or if he found help, he could guide them back to Kenji. They think this person cut down about 19 birch trees, each 5 meters long, and took some time to make the large sign. And after creating the sign, that person placed Kenji near it and left to seek help. But while Kenji was near the sign, he saw a helicopter and called out for help, but the helicopter did not notice him or the sign. So, desperate to attract attention, Kenji used a tape recorder and recorded the fourth tape. And unfortunately, he was never rescued and remained there until he died. And perhaps the other person met the same fate because they were unable to find help. Now, this theory is considered the closest to the truth by police. That seems sketchy to me. I don't know why anybody else would just leave and Kenji wouldn't get help, especially if there's no other missing persons of someone who went missing in this area at that time. I just find this story a little far fetched and a little hard to believe. When rescuers reached this crude SOS carved into the mountainside, they expected to find a lost hiker still clinging to life. But instead, they only found bones, a silent testimony to desperation in one of Japan's harshest wildernesses. Later, investigators pieced together fragments of the truth. The sign had been made by a young man who went missing months earlier, hoping someone or anyone might see his signal before it was too late. But by the time help arrived, the mountain had already claimed him. Even now, questions remain about the discovery, the conflicting reports, and the strange details that never quite added up. But in the end, the SOS incident stands as a haunting reminder of how isolation and survival blur into tragedy, how easily a cry for help can echo into silence. In the vast expanse of Daisetsuzan National Park, Mount Asahidake still looms, beautiful, remote, and indifferent. As hikers pass through the same valleys today, the story of the failed SOS still lingers, a mystery on the mountainside, whispering a warning to anyone who dares to wander too far. As always, recreate responsibly and remember, sometimes the great outdoors aren't always great. Thanks for listening to Morbid Outdoors. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. It's free, easy, and it helps us out immensely. When you subscribe, you get updates on our latest episodes, and it also boosts our visibility, making it easier for other curious souls to find us. Another great way to support Morbid Outdoors is by leaving us a review. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, a quick review helps us know what you love about the show. You can also join us on Patreon for early and ad-free content. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Morbid Outdoors Podcast. You can email us case suggestions and your campfire stories at morbidoutdoorspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you next time.